Hey homeschoolers, I'm Melissa Webb, former full-time classroom teacher and homeschool mom turned full-time business CEO and encourager to homeschool families everywhere. I want to give you sound, educational, practical tips and advice at the same time making sure that you're enjoying the family journey that you are on. So if you are looking for a place to be encouraged and inspired, you have found the perfect podcast. Homeschooling is a work of heart is truly the perfect place to start. So welcome. Let's jump in. Well, hello, friend. While January felt like it was months long, I cannot believe February is already over. Isn't the concept of time a little bit trippy? I think so. Welcome back or welcome if you are brand new to our podcast. Every week, it's fun to watch the statistics because our listening audience is always increasing by a few more listeners. So I'm just wondering, are you telling all your friends? I love that. I love that you're sharing an episode with someone else. That's fantastic. You know, you can do that straight from your phone. If you have been sharing, I just want to thank you so much. The crazy thing is, though, that I have not received a review on the podcast since March of 2024. That's almost a year ago. And I know everyone's busy. I get it. But seriously, those reviews apparently are super helpful to algorithms. And you know, there are literally millions of podcasts these days. It's hard for people to know where they should go. But if you have a podcast that has a lot of reviews and positive comments, it gets pushed up into the eyes of somebody new looking for a podcast for homeschooling. So I would love some reviews. It is truly the fuel that keeps me going and helps the podcast. Since 89% of our listeners listen on Apple Podcasts, is that you? That's where I'm looking for reviews specifically. And they can be so short. It could be one sentence, two sentences. You can add that to the bottom of the show page for Homeschool is a Work of Heart. Just go to the show page, go to the bottom, click review, give hopefully 5 stars and a quick review. That'd be really great. And to entice you, I have decided that I'm going to, for the month of March, since it's my year since I've had a review, I'm going to pay very close to attention to anybody who leaves a review for the month of March. And I'm going to automatically enter you to win a $25 gift card of your choice. It could be Amazon, Starbucks, DoorDash, you name it. Now, if you're somebody who's like, oh, great, I did a review in the past, but I didn't get any gift card. If you want to go into this drawing, you can leave another review. It will actually bring up your old review, you erase that, and you can write something new. And then that will post as a new post, as a new review, and you will be entered. And if you ever have any doubt, you can take a screenshot and email me proof that you have given a review. If you're not sure, by the way, how to leave a review, I do have directions on that. I should link those directions into the show notes. It will make your life a lot easier. So thank you in advance because I know you see this podcast is valuable and you appreciate what I do. And you've wondered, how can I thank her for all that she puts out into this world? Well, I'm telling you, a review would be a great way to show your appreciation. Let's move on to this week's topic: how to excite your reluctant learner. Do you have one of these reluctant learners? To be clear, what do I even mean? A reluctant learner, in my opinion, is a child who tends to hem and haw, shows little to no enthusiasm for wanting to learn, to get to work. And it kind of seems sometimes it doesn't even matter what the subject is. Not only do we likely have at least one of these in our homes, we too may have been or continue to be reluctant learners, maybe reluctant dishwashers, reluctant bill payers, reluctant laundry putter awayers. Yes, now I'm just making up words. But do you get my point? There are a lot of things in life that we all feel reluctant to get started. I had read a book recently by Mel Robbins, and it's called Let Them. And it has a lot of great chunks of delightful thoughts and funny stories. I really am enjoying the book. I'm not done with it yet. But in one part, she was actually talking about how motivation doesn't come before the action. How many people are waiting to feel motivated to clean their closet? We'll be waiting forever in most cases because something else must happen and action happens, and then we feel motivated to do it. And so, waiting around for our children to feel motivated to want to learn have you waiting a very long time. And I think this is a great topic for us as parent teachers. Earlier in the month, I hosted a webinar for homeschooling parents. And afterward, I received an email from a mom who signed up for our test prep course. And it was such a great question. I told her in my response that she may have very well inspired my next podcast episodes. So, Loretta, if you're listening, this one's for you, my friend. But I love it because I think it applies to all of our lives. So, let me tell you what she first wrote to me. Thank you so much for the webinar. I have a question. Do you have any tips or thoughts or strategies or ideas to help my 8-year-old be excited to write? My kiddo does not seem to enjoy writing, even when I try to reframe it into a fun activity. I have used reinforcements, encouragement, empathy, and I've also pointed out that we have to do things we don't always enjoy, but it's a struggle. Now, who can't relate with that, right? She just spoke what so many of us have thought. Maybe it's not writing. Maybe it's something else like math or science or history. I don't know what it is in your family, but I'm sure something has popped into your mind. You're thinking of a child and you're thinking of an area where you really have to struggle to get some learning accomplished, work done. I know you can relate. We all can. So I will tell you my response to her, but then I'm going to expand on that in this episode. I just confirmed that her question was a great one. I said, in my experience, I have never been able to control how anyone else feels. However, as a teacher and mom, I can show up feeling excited and eager, hoping it will be contagious. I suggest keeping any assignments and practices short and sweet. If 30 minutes feels like a long time to your 8-year-old, break it down to 15 minutes. Sure, it's going to take longer to finish, but it will be more enjoyable. Remember, your sweet kiddo is only 8 years old and has plenty of time to work on mastering writing. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You may want to revisit our hiking analogy from today. What would you do to make that experience more favorable if your child said, but I don't want to go on a hike? Personally, I would lovingly talk about what we might see, how the exercise is good for us, and we're never going to know until we go. So let's do this. And that is how I would talk to my children if they were hesitant. I would just very encouragingly and lovingly say, well, hey, it's what we're going to do. So let's do just that. Now, I am going to age myself right now, but I want to share this because while it's old school learning, I still apply it in the teaching that I do in my online courses. I certainly applied it as a mom when my children were younger and always as a teacher. But when I was back in college and I was finishing up my teaching credential in 1992, I know that was a long time ago. But we were taught at that point the 6-step lesson plan. So teachers would teach in this 6-step lesson method. And step one was the anticipatory set. I know I have teacher friends here. Are you so familiar with this jargon? If you're not, let me just give you a little bit of background. So, the anticipatory set was this teaching concept that was popularized by Madeline Hunter. She was big in our day, and it was all part of her instructional model. So, you're getting ready to instruct on something. Here are the steps you would follow teaching any new concept. Now, I would define the anticipatory set as that engaging activity that you would do prior to introducing a new lesson. It's supposed to capture the attention and prepare students for this new learning. And in building anticipation, what we're really doing is activating the child's brain. We're pulling up prior knowledge, perhaps. We're building curiosity, and we're setting this fun, positive tone before the lesson even starts. Here's what I will tell you, it works. It works even though we're talking 30 years later, it still works. So let me give you a few examples. You could use these at home. And I won't just use writing because I know for some of you, it's not the writing that's the issue. It could be getting kids to get interested in a new novel that you're going to read, or maybe you're getting ready to start a new math concept or a history unit or something new in science. I'll give you a few different examples of things I've done in the past, and maybe they will inspire you. So, back when I taught fifth grade in the classroom, every year we read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, a classic by C.S. Lewis. And when we would get to the part where the queen would offer Turkish delight to Edmund, I would make Turkish delight. This was actually back in the day when you could make things, food items, and bring them to school. I think now with allergies, and I don't think people do that anymore. Everything has to be store bought. But again, I already dated myself. I'm old school, and I would make it. It's not hard to make, by the way. It's basically just like a gelatin with lots of sugar and then whatever flavor you want. I think I made orange. And then you roll these little gelatin cubes all through powdered sugar. And that's what I would bring into class. And I would say, we are going to learn about a candy called Turkish Delight. And I brought you all a couple pieces that you can enjoy while we're reading through this chapter. Now, can you see how that might build that anticipation? Like, ooh, let's get started. Food is a really good anticipatory set, but you don't always need to use it. Let's say in math, you're learning division. And yes, food does work great in division, right? You can make a sandwich and then say, okay, we need to divide our sandwich into fourths. And so food does work great. And it's even best at home when you can connect this to a real life event. Recipes are great for division. If you have a recipe that makes a whole lot of something and you say, oh, this is too much, I don't want to make this much, we're going to cut it in half. So recipes work great. We used to play division charades where I would put my students into different sized groups, and then they were told to decide how to divide their whole group into parts. Like I would say, put yourselves in half, put yourself in thirds, put yourselves in fourths, and they'd have to quickly break up into smaller groups. So again, you can get so creative, and I'm sure there's a million ideas online these days. For history in fourth grade, when I taught fourth grade, we studied the gold rush, one of my most favorite units, and a great one to start a lot of history units would be to read a short story. You could find a short story online. It could be a short article. You could even watch a video. And do not dismiss picture books. Students who are like, oh, I'm too old for a children's book, a picture book, they actually engage quite well with those kinds of books. They enjoy the picture aspect of the book. And there's a great one for Gold Rush called Boomtown, where the little girl makes a pie and sends her dad off to the mines with a slice of pie. And then he comes home and he's like, hey, a few of my friends would like to have a piece of pie too. Well, she ends up making pies and making money off her pies. And she ends up making more money. They start a business and their customer base are all of the people there trying to find the gold. It's a great book, Boomtown. Check it out if you haven't read that one. Let's see, a good anticipatory for science. Oh, well, so this is a good idea. So let's say you are studying volcanoes. Your anticipatory set could actually build anticipation for the end of the lesson. So you say, this is what we're going to learn about. Take a look at it. This is the chapter we're going to read in our textbook. And when we're done, we're going to build a volcano. These are the things we're going to use. And so now they're excited, not because you just did something right then and there, but something that's coming later. A writing example. Currently, our students have just started their expository. They're writing an informational explanatory essay called Destination Discovery. And my anticipatory set were two things for this one. One, we're letting the students choose where they want to go, what country, what state. Then they have to pick a city and they're going to research that. So that's kind of fun. I have a student who wants to study a city in Ireland because her grandmother or her great grandmother grew up there. And so for her, it's turning into a little genealogy project, which is fun. So there's natural motivation for her because I gave her the freedom to do that. We're also teaching them how to make a travel brochure of the place they choose using Canva at the end of the unit. And so I showed them our finished project and they all were like, we get to make one of those. I'm like, yeah, we're going to teach you how to make one. So again, getting kids excited can motivate somebody who's a little bit reluctant. But you must notice that while these ideas may excite some students, in your mind, you could be saying to every single one, that wouldn't work for me. Because there's always going to be those children who say, I don't like any of these and I don't want to do this, whatever. They're like, I don't want to eat Turkish delight. I don't want to read that book. They're not motivated by things like it's wrong. That's not what this is about. That's their personality. And okay, go with the flow. You can't change how other people feel. You can only show up as the best version of you. And that's what I want to remind you, mamas. That's what matters. What you can control. You. If your kids just want to remain miserable or complain or take 3 hours to do a 30-minute activity, that's just this season of their life and it's going to fall on them. Sure, they're going to have boundaries. You need to instill some boundaries and consequences if they don't get their work done, but never in anger, just in guidance. You can say, oh, we won't do any of that. Just here you go. Let's say you don't want to make the volcano. Not a problem, sweetheart. We're just going to cover the material. Here's the book. I will check for understanding to make sure that you can recall the most important details, and then we'll just move on. Now, keep in mind, if you really wanted to make the volcano, then you should make the volcano. Do it when your kids are around, and you may be surprised. They could come on over. They may completely ignore you. But if you want to do it, don't do it because you're trying to entice them. You're trying to make them interested. Nope. If it's something you really want to do, if you want to make Turkish delight because you're curious what it tastes like, make it for you and just see if you might entice them to join you. Okay? Again, it's not our job to force people to feel how we want them to feel. We work on our thoughts so that we feel the way we want to feel. I want you at the end of the day to say, hey, I feel great. I tried. Because the reality check is this: we cannot make kids love to learn. We're not that powerful. We're just not. Whether it's writing or math or history or science, it could be one, it could be all of those subjects. We can't control their preferences. but we can control how we present what they're learning. Try some of that anticipatory practice. You're going to show up, you're going to do your best. Show up as the parent teacher that you wish to be. Fill your life, fill your home with love. Those are the things you can control, and they are so powerful. And at the end of the day, remind your kiddos that learning is their responsibility. They can enjoy it, they can detest it, but it's a responsibility and it must get done. Hopefully, with time, you can encourage a growth mindset. Most kids who have that type of attitude are just in a fixed mindset. They have just chosen this belief and they believe they don't like having fun with learning. And if you can encourage a growth mindset over time, that'd be great. You could ask them, so what would make this subject, insert whatever that is, what would make it something that you actually enjoy? Rather than disliking it, what would make it more enjoyable? We need to learn, honey. So do you have any ideas or suggestions on how it could be a more enjoyable experience? And they may say, no, I just want to do it and get it done. Okay. Again, you tried. You can also point out to them, it does appear to me that this decision of yours has already been decided. You just don't like this. I just want to remind you, you can always change your mind. Your thoughts are your thoughts. Nobody's forcing them. And if you ever get tired of feeling that way, because I imagine it feels a bit negative, just know you have the power to change. And then give some examples even of your own life where you can show that work is not always about enjoyment. It's about discipline. And as I mentioned before, it's about responsibility. There's plenty of things we're reluctant to do. We're not going to sit around and just wait to be motivated. We just need to do it. And once you start, often the motivation flows from there. It's also a great idea if you can find real life examples that connect with whatever it is that your child is learning. Students often tell me, this feels like a waste of time. I don't know when I'm ever going to use this. I always have that discussion with my young writers at the beginning of a semester. And we talk about, in what kind of careers would you need to be persuasive? In what kinds of careers might you need to know how to inform or explain things? And in what kind of careers could entertaining an audience actually be something you'd need to know how to do? So explore that question, have that conversation. When students start to see, oh, this could help me in the future, that right there can open up their growth mindset. My final recommendation is just that you concentrate on creating an environment in your home where learning is expected and it's supported, where we stay positive and we do our best to have fun. But again, reminding yourself that is the only thing you can control, how you see it. Be consistent and be firm. Learning must happen. And do not forget, when progress is made, celebrate it. Celebrate it, even if it's not perfect, but it's progress. They showed up, they got it done. They got it done in a good amount of time. They did it even when they weren't feeling motivated or excited to do it. Any kind of progress is awesome. And learning is a marathon. Learning is something hopefully they're going to do for their whole lifetime. So don't worry about whatever age they are and how far they are. We're not sprinting through our learning. We are taking a slow jog for many, many miles. I know you've got this, and I'm here for you if you need any additional support. Right on, everyone. Well, thanks so much for tuning in and listening this week. Hey, if this was something that you found valuable, don't forget you want to subscribe or follow so that every time a new episode is dropped, you'll be the first to know. And hey, before you go, if you are looking to get some of this academic writing under your belt and outsourced so that it's one less thing, freeing you up to enjoy more time with your family, hey, you're going to want to head over to writeonweb.com to see what kinds of resources and materials I have available for you. I will look forward to seeing you there, and I will look forward to seeing you here in our next episode. Right on.